Good morning, everyone. It's 9 a.m. on Friday, September 12th. I call the Governing Board Workshop meeting to order. My name's Christine Novello. I'm a Governing Board Director, and I am the President of the Governing Board, therefore the chairperson of today's meeting. Before we say the Pledge of Allegiance, I want to note that today is September 12th. 24 years ago yesterday, of course, we recognized a terrible attack on the United States. And 24 years ago today, America was more unified than we've been in my lifetime. So let's pause for a moment and remember that moment of unity that we shared together as we rise, if you're able to rise, and join in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you all. We have a quorum today of 8 directors present. Our secretary and director, Sandra Forsey, is not with us today. So John Chatton is keeping an eye on me and on our comments and will stand in as our secretary today. I'll quickly read our meeting procedures. The Governing Board and all its committees conduct our meetings in compliance with the Arizona Plan Community Association open meeting laws per ARS 33-1804 and in concert with RCSCW bylaws, policies, and standing rules. Parliamentary procedures as outlined in the most recent edition of Robert's Rules of Order will be followed in all meetings as appropriate. Consistent with bylaw 3.07, procedures for owner-member meetings, and with standing rules number 2 and number 3. So that being said, we're going to move on to our meeting minutes approval. We've had 3 meetings since we last met together in a workshop. So first, our workshop meeting minutes from June 13th. Directors, did you see any need for addition, correction, or change? Any objections? Seeing none, those meetings are approved. We met on July 1st, 2025 as a planning meeting, and it was an open meeting, not an executive session. We did follow it with an executive session. The minutes of our open meeting, are attached. Any corrections or additions, changes to that one? Seeing none, we'll move on to our August 13th special meeting that was held here. Those meeting minutes were also attached. Any corrections, comments? So seeing none, we approve those as well. Thank you, directors. We'll move on to a very exciting aspect of our meeting today. We have members of the Automobile Restoration Club, or ARC, here today. They are making a very large check in the form of a repayment to us. So do we have Craig here today? Come on up, Craig. Where would you like to come? Maybe all of you up in the or, if you'd like to speak, you'd be welcome to do that. Can we turn this microphone on? Might be a little easier. If you'd like to come up here to the lectern. I know. We're new to this. That's okay. So you can stand right here, and maybe we can stand in front of those. Thank you so much. Come on. We don't always get big checks, so
it's an event for us as well.
Exactly. Please.
My name is Dave Dunbar. My rec number is 130737. I'm here with Craig Landers, our president, Lynette Saylor, our savior in a lot of our procedures, and Ray Helt, another treasurer. And we're here today to present a repayment check for a total of $104,410 and change. Rather a momentous day for us as well.
Exactly. And this is one of many payments that you've made.
It is. As of today, we have paid back approximately $1 million on a $1.3 million loan. That was accomplished in 9 years from when the building first opened in 2016. The remaining balance is $220,000. That is approximately 17% of the total loan still remaining after this 9-year period.
Excellent.
All right.
Okay.
Right here.
I was gonna say, you get the big one, but the real one goes to the bank. There you go.
Ray, let's get the photo here. Don't be shy, Ray. Good man, here we go. 1, 2, and 6. 1, 2, and 5. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We're gonna do that right there for you.
Thank you very much to the ARC Club, and we're very grateful for this. I'm holding the actual check, which I will turn over to our CFO and treasurer after the meeting. So you've all seen it. I can't go home with it. Thank you very much. So with that, we're going to move on to item 4, just a little bit of housekeeping and admin. I mentioned that this is a workshop meeting, and during our meeting procedures, we talk about things like procedures and Robert's rules and so forth. Just to give all of you who may be new a little bit of an overview, in our workshops, these are discussion meetings. So we're discussing items of interest to the association. We do not take actions or make motions typically in a meeting like this. So just so you're aware, these meetings, workshops, or discussions, we hold them once a month during our governing board active season, which is from September through June. We also have regular meetings, which you will participate in next week, and other meetings that occur. But again, today it's a workshop meeting, and it is our first time in, if you will, this regular season of workshops. So I introduced myself briefly already, and the directors who are present today will do the same. As I mentioned, Christine Novello, and I am serving as the governing board president this year. This is my 3rd and final year on the governing board. I started serving on July 1st of 2023. So my term of service will be up on June 30th of next year. It's been a pleasure to serve on the governing board for this length of time. I've volunteered, as many of you do, in other capacities as well. And my husband and I are celebrating 9 years in Sun City West. So we closed on our home here in Paradise, what we believe is Paradise, in September of 2016. So very happy to be here. With that, I'm going to go from your left to right. And so each director can also introduce themselves, and you can put a face with the name. We'll start with Director Nick Turner.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nick Turner. I've lived here in Sun City West for 7 years. I'm a former officer of 2 of our chartered clubs, graduate of Torch, and been on the Chartered Clubs Committee for 3 years before this year. This is my first year as a director on the governing board. I'm a retired software product manager with a large tech co, and before that I worked in warehousing software and operations in distribution, logistics, order management, that kind of thing. So when you do your buy online, pick up in store, buy online, return to store, when you look up to see what's inventory Lowe's have in their 6 different stores locally, that's the kind of stuff I was working on. Thank you. Anything else?
Okay.
I'm Kay Williams. I am the historical member of this club and this group, and sometimes the hysterical member as well. But I've been involved in this wonderful organization in a variety of capacities. We've lived here 20 years. I've chaired the Properties Committee for 7 out of the last 12 years, and I am proud to say that I'm not going to be chairing it this year. We're going to let the new kids on the block have a chance. I worked 26 years with the City of Phoenix in many different departments, have been involved in a lot of clubs, got very involved in being a softball player's wife because my husband played with the softball team here for 15 years. I ran Angels in the outfield for 9 and set up more tournaments, bought more donuts and hot dogs, all good things, and with meeting a lot of good people. So the variety of things that we have done as a couple and singularly, we love it here. Obviously, if we didn't, we wouldn't still be here. But I think there's so many opportunities for our residents to do things that if they're bored, it's their own darn fault. So glad to be back on the board. This will be my last year, all in caps, last. So we're looking forward to working with so many new directors.
And I believe, Kay, although you're not introducing him, your husband is a proud member of the Hall of Fame. Am I correct?
For softball, yeah, he is in the Hall of Fame for softball.
Thank you.
I'm Jolene Piaskowski. I've lived in Arizona for 20 years and have been in Sun City West for 9, this October 19th. I've been married for 42 years to Joel. Joel's pretty active in the community, just as I am. We have 2 daughters, 5 grandchildren, so yes, my favorite thing is to be called Nana as opposed to a director. No. My work experience, I was a stay-at-home mom, so I did 35 years of volunteering. Yes, I could probably run a corporation. You run after prom at Millard North and have 900 kids and 12 chairs under you. It's kind of crazy. I have worked for RCSCW. I worked for about 5 years. Started off in golf ops with Pat and ran their tournaments, and then moved to events when Casey was the event person there. And I belong to several clubs here. My favorite is Rip and Sew, which is right here in this little facility. And yes, I agree with Kay. If you move here and you can't find anything to do, that's not our problem. It is yours. There's lots of things to do. I really believe that this is the best place to live in Arizona. So thank you very much for letting me serve you.
Thanks, Jolene. I would argue that it's the best place to live anywhere, but I am a little biased. Thank you. Director Chatton.
Morning, my name is John Chatton, and I've been a resident here in Sun City West for about 10 years. This is my 2nd year as a director on the board. This year I am chair of the Properties Committee, and I'm also on the Golf Committee that Rudy chairs. I attended Torch many years ago, one of the best things I did after we moved here. And my background is I've done a lot of different things, had a couple of small businesses back when, but most of my time was spent as a city or county administrator. So I just love being here.
Thank you. And Rudy?
Well, good morning. I'm Rudy Grum. I've been a homeowner here for a little over 5 years. This is currently my 2nd year on the board and 2nd year as your vice president. And as John said, I'm currently the golf committee chairman, which is my 2nd year also. Outside of that, I'm involved in a number of activities within the community. I retired from the Navy, so I'm pretty involved with the American Legion. And as if I had nothing to do on the weekends, I get up early on Saturday mornings. I'm a Prides section monitor, which takes up a fair amount of your time on the weekend. But enjoy living here, and really enjoyed my 1st year on the board. And if you don't have anything to do on the 2nd Thursday afternoon of the month, you got to come to a golf committee meeting. We have a pretty good time, and we love to hear from the people here in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ann?
Hi, my name is Ann Becknell. I'm also the treasurer for the governing board. My parents moved here in 1994, so I've been coming here for a really long time enjoying these facilities. Can't say enough about how much we love them. We bought our first house in 2008. We were snowbirds for a few years. My husband got an early retirement, and we moved here full-time in 2013. So he had somebody to play with because I was still working, and he needed playmates. Since coming here in 2013, I've belonged to several clubs, Water Fitness, Lady Putters. I worked in the Prides, I've worked with the Posse, and did 4 years on Torch, which I found to be incredibly educational and powerful. And Torch is really what sort of led me to run for the governing board. And I did, and I'm proud to say you elected me to the board last spring. I'm looking forward to serving, so this is my first year. Thank you.
Alan?
After hearing all of that, how do you top those stories? I'm Alan Schlemmer, and you might recall I previously served on the board 2 years ago for a year, and then I made the unwise decision to go play in traffic and had a pretty lousy accident a year ago. So I'm very grateful to even be here and grateful to be back on the board. My wife and I came to Sun City West in 2015, and both of us quickly fell in love with the place. I started to get involved in learning more about the history and became involved with the Sun City's museum. And if you haven't been there, I hope that you will take the chance to do that. I also went through Torch, like many of my colleagues here, and found that to be an absolutely fascinating experience. And then also became a member of the Torch Committee. I joined Pride so I could watch Rudy work. And I also am on the board over at the Sun City West Foundation. I truly believe, and you're going to see that later in this meeting when I do a presentation on the history of Sun City all the way to the villages. I absolutely do believe that this community is the very best retirement community in the nation. And I don't say that lightly. Through my work at the museum, I've been exposed to a lot of them. A few months back, I had an author come to the museum. She is with a major university out in the Midwest. I'm not going to give a lot of details because I don't want to blow the cover of what she's working on because it's her personal effort. But nonetheless, she's doing a project related to retirement, and she wanted to explore Sun City and Sun City West. And while we were walking through the museum, after we did the tour and I went through the history, she said, "I can't wait to get up to see Sun City West." And I said, "Why is that?" And she says, "Oh, Alan, I met with some developers in Florida, and they told me when I came out here, definitely go to Sun City West. It's at the gold standard." That says it all right there. I'm really proud to be on the board and proud to be a part of this great community. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, directors, for introducing yourselves. For those of us who, some of you are regular attendees, and we're grateful, but for anyone who's not a regular attendee, a new resident, or someone who's just joining us today for the first time, now you've gotten to know your 8 of your 9 directors. When she returns from her trip, we'll ask Director Forsey to introduce herself as well. So now you have faces and names. You can't always read the names that are in front of us, but hopefully that helps you as we move forward. We'll move on to new business. I'm going to ask for the key goals to be pulled up. Each year, the governing board starts our year with a day of training, and we held this a week ago today on the 5th. So we spent a day together talking about and learning about all sorts of things. We learned about parliamentary procedure. We learned about the laws of the state of Arizona and how they govern us, as well as our fiduciary responsibilities. We spent a day learning a lot of things. I won't recount the whole thing, but at the end of the day, it culminated with us agreeing as a board to our key goals and objectives for the rest of this year. When I say year, I mean our fiscal year and our service year, which ends on June 30th of 2026. So these are the 5 that we distilled down. One that we're going to be hearing about in a little bit more detail shortly. We decided, like the rest of you, we are very well aware that the condition of some of our pool decks, those pool decks have not worn as well as any of us had hoped. Many of us are aware, we hear our residents loud and clear, and we ourselves, as you just heard, we live here and we play here, and we're well aware of the conditions. So looking at the challenges that our staff has had over these past few years, and we'll hear a little bit more about that, we've made it a key goal to ensure that not only are the pool decks brought back to looking good, but also that we collectively, together with our team here that runs our organization, that there's a plan going forward that we're all confident in terms of the repair, replacement, and ongoing maintenance. So we've made it a key goal of ours, along with some of the rest. And you see here, the other is our strategic plan. So going from something that's happening really right now to something more strategic in nature. Last year, the governing board worked together with staff to author a strategic plan that will guide us from a mission and a vision perspective. It includes a lot of projects. Some projects are very near and dear or highly visible to those of us as a community, things like our master plan, things like technology. We've been talking about these for years. So again, if you go into the details of that plan, all of which are available to you, if you are online, you can go online and see it. If you need a printed copy, you just let the team know how to obtain a printed copy if you'd like to review it. But we're monitoring those, the strategic plan initiatives that are being implemented by staff in this year. The third goal is to make sure that we have the right, or review our initiatives on that strategic plan that are next up. That's a key part of what the governing board does, that you see us work on with our committees all year long, is looking at our budget. So we want to ensure that the upcoming budget that we'll be talking about throughout the year, but especially after January of next year, we really start to dig into those capital initiatives to ensure that we have those initiatives well defined, and we'll update and review those. We'll meet to do that in January. Of course, as I mentioned, budget, near and dear to everybody's heart. We'll be looking at the financial plan, affectionately or more carefully known as what's the budget and what are our dues as members. We are duty bound to review and approve that budget by the end of May of 2026, a key objective of ours. Last, and definitely not least, they're probably all equal in importance, right? We want to continue to improve our visibility to you. So we introduced ourselves today. You may see us at a few events here and there, and of course, you know, we're always saying our door is open. We write a lot of columns. We may make some communication through RCN, both our e-news and so forth, and we're here for you at least twice a month. But what else can we do that's less formal? Well, we're talking about that. You'll see us out and about at events, at openings of key new facilities in Sun City West, and we encourage you to get to know us a little bit better. And of course, with mutual respect, we want to continue to be visible to one another. So you'll see us around a little bit more, and you'll hear more about that as we go. So those are our key goals for the year. Any additional comments or questions from the directors? Any questions from attendees here in the room? Nothing online, I see. All right then, so let's go back to that pool deck. As I mentioned, we have Carl Wilhelm, who has come out of retirement to continue to assist us for a while. Carl is our capital improvement projects manager and is going to give us a bit of an overview of our pool decks history and where we are. Thanks, Carl.
Thank you, President Novello. Good morning, directors, and good morning, community. It wouldn't be fair just to say, hey, next week on starting September 15th that we're closing the pool down to do a couple initiatives. One, to dustless blast the pool waterline tiles and fountains and revive them a bit before we go into that strategic planning for future tile replacement. So we're having an opportunity for a low-cost dollar amount to refurbish them for a short period of time. The second thing, the following week, starting on Sunday, September 21st, we'll be in that continued closure for the Texas Corporation to come out and do major repairs to the R.H. Johnson pool deck, completing by the end of the week, and then moving over to Palm Ridge to do some smaller area repairs. With that being said, though, it's important to remember that since 1978, we've had multiple different surfaces on these pool decks. And to some extent, they've all faced the same thing, just a little differently than what our current deck is. The hardest thing about this current rubber deck is it's Kuntz. We had a very successful application approximately 5 years ago. Then we moved forward with anticipation and hope and kind of joy because it looked so good and it was working out so well. But we had a short period, within a few months, of failure from the manufacturer's products used to adhere that deck. Well, that created a pretty poor optic opportunity for all of us to make our comments, review the product, and that came with a really tough discussion because they gave us a reason why it failed. And you know, when you're working with these major vendors, you have hope, you have empathy on, you know, what they're dealing with, that they're going to tear out a full entire deck and replace it, and they gave us that commitment. And then the governing board helped us with a decision that was also just tough because we believed in the product and we also put it down at Palm Ridge prior to that repair. And today we are dealing with repairs again. So to backtrack a little bit, between 1978 and 1997, all pool decks, with the exception of Beardsley Rec Center, began their pool deck existence with a cool deck, a cementatious product. Beardsley's pool began with terrazzo. By approximately 1991, cool deck areas required monthly and weekly repairs during busy seasons, constantly popping loose, leaving the deck loose and blistering. Interestingly enough that we're talking about this today, Sabrina, facility ops, and some other management team members went to go visit the community of Festival this week, and they had carte blanche, full tour of their facilities, their pool decks. They have cool deck on their pool decks, and they have a specialized team that has to tear out and repair that cool deck on multiple occasions each year, and they set it as a maintenance program. So it is not. It is a failable deck if you understand that this happens everywhere. By 1999, cementatious decks began being replaced with acrylic decks. Surfaces with lace pattern that look like cool deck, but they're actually a cementatious product mixed with paint and more permanent, if you will. Why did we move to that direction in those years? Well, it wasn't just about pool decks. It was actually about the concrete surfaces underneath those pool decks. They experienced the settling and the movement and concrete cracking, and this was an opportunity to explore a company that provided a similar service to cool deck and actually cover up or creatively work with the decks cracking instead of having full deck tear out. Between 23 and 24, the rec centers went out to bid for R.H. Johnson, Kuntz, and Palm Ridge for alternative deck products, including a Vercrete cool deck, which was a new kind of cool deck, new style acrylics and materials. RCSW changed to a different company where they did more creative patterns, like I mentioned before, that were like flagstone appearances. But again, these items were for the purpose of creating us a finished new deck, and that helped hide the blemishes that are underneath in the original concrete. In 2006, Beardsley required a tear out of the original terrazzo. So between 91 and 2006, the terrazzo held up the best. However, it can't be used in an outdoor application. It can only be used in an indoor facility. This material has been the most durable but it does have the least slip coefficient. So we have some of our most sensitive occurrences there where we have to make sure that deck is cleaner, dry, and when we do put surfaces for restoration on there, we put a grit in that coating. All of these deck materials have issues mostly caused by the minerals in the soils that permeate through the concrete over time. They break the bond between concrete and the deck surface. In most cases, the concrete will still stick to the pieces that have popped loose that are being required for repair. A little further along, in 2016, R.H. Johnson's new pool deck was half cool deck and half acrylic, based on what we understood about wear and tear of the high traffic areas. In 2023, it was replaced with the rubber deck surface because of its acrylic and pool deck failures. Jumping back in time a little bit, 2020, Kuntz had an acrylic deck removed and a rubber deck coating replaced, and it has lasted 5 years without relatively any issues. We've done some maintenance. We've changed some of the entry door areas to a darker color just due to foot traffic and discoloration. So we had no reason to believe that the RubCorp rubber product would have any issues at R.H. Johnson moving along in 2023. But we experienced their resin failure. After that, we've had that repair done. Again, we moved forward with the application at Palm Ridge, and we're having an overall positive experience. I will say my next issues that I've dealt with from a vendor perspective is, well, have I received the A team for installation or have I received the B or C team? I know that the owners of the company installed Kuntz, and it was a pleasure working with them. Every application after that, I've had trained staff members from their corporation do the installs, and at times I've met less than satisfactory results and had to deal and work through those. Here we are today. We're going to continue to give RubCorp an opportunity for this repair on the 21st. The general manager, Russ Boston, myself, Sabrina Elevato, we've all met with the corporation leaders. They did bring a professional out from the community, or I should say from Phoenix marketplace, that is in a high-level training with them. They are not the ones going to be doing the repair, but most likely will be here to have more education, more training, and potentially set them up as our future repair opportunities above and beyond warranty items. So please take note that next week we'll be closing the pool again for the dustless blasting, and then go right into the RubCorp's warranty responsibility, no cost to the rec centers, and revive that deck. There'll be very large areas tore out, some restored, the coping around all the spas and the pool deck totally refinished, and we'll take strategic planning that President Novello discussed and keep an eye on this repair and see where we go for the future. If you have any questions, I'm here.
Thank you, Carl. I think we'll have a bunch of questions for you. I'm going to start. You mentioned, again, the repairs are starting on the decks. Repairs are starting. What's the, you call it, it's so hard to know. Is it the A team or the B or the C? Which team do you believe is going to show up?
I have the owner, Jonathan, arriving with his team, so I'm pretty confident in that area of install.
Thank you. And there have been questions, there might be more from the rest of the directors as well, but there have been questions in the past about the temperature, that the conditions that we currently have during the repair, the physical temperature of the community as well as what the folks are installing. When you review the nature of the work that they're doing, the resins that are being used and so forth, assuming that someone has reviewed that, what's the temperature limitation, and are you confident it will survive the installation, if you will?
I don't have a specific temperature to give you. The corporation recommends that it be done during this time of the year. I've had residents reach out to me over the last few years saying that they've observed the canisters of product that they're using. I'm not sure what they observed or what they saw and read labels. I have all the documentation for our MSDS material safety data sheets. I've had this question posed to our previous general manager and did a fact finding on that, and RubCorp has provided all of the documentation back that this is the appropriate time, temperature. They prefer the work in the humid or warmer weather due to a slow curing process. There will be products used on this repair that are new to the company in an effort to ensure a stronger bond, a different kind of bond. They use it in their equestrian portfolio, if you will. And so we're open to that. And we just have to trust in RubCorp and see if this finally gets better.
Thank you. I'll open it up to the rest. I don't need to ask all the questions here. Directors, who would like to ask another question here or make a comment? Director Piaskowski.
We were in the GM Ops meeting
Yep.
on Monday, and so I've been involved with the board and following the board and all kinds of things for the last 5-6 years. He told us, and I'm not too sure you mentioned that today, that our pool decking is under R&R, repair and replacement, for every 7 years. So this is something that we should know as a community, that every 7 years, we do plan on doing something with all our pool decking, right?
Well,
If it need be.
you're very,
All our
you're
assets.
very close in your comments there. We definitely do track all of our pool decks from a useful life, so they are an asset. Over the years, we've had different products with different useful lives based on straight up either the manufacturer saying this is what we believe it'll last and the warranty behind that. Originally, we placed this rubber deck at a much longer time frame for useful life, and we saw the results that is not going to be the case, and that has been adjusted in our reserve study tool. So every deck does have a asset management for R&R replacement.
Right. My only point is that I think there's a lot of residents out there, because they have a pool in their backyard. They think, well, why doesn't this last forever? That's my only point, is that our residents have to realize that it is something that does get repaired and replaced. We are prepared to do that, but I think a lot of residents, it's a pool. It doesn't happen.
Think of the traffic at your residential pool.
Correct.
And then compare the traffic between 3 of the 4 rec centers versus R.H. Johnson. If you take all of the traffic, all 3 other rec centers, I don't think it still equals to the traffic that R.H. Johnson experiences on a monthly and yearly basis.
Right. So that was my only point,
Yep.
is I wanted to make sure that the residents realize that it is an R&R, and that just because you think it should last forever, it's not going to.
Yeah, we recognize that it won't. That's a good point. And just to build on that, my opening remarks are, and our goal here as a governing board is not to second guess what's happening on a day-to-day basis, but rather to plan ahead, right? Right now, the staff believes that it's a 7-year cycle. It may be more, it may be less. They will continue to review and will advise us as a part of this year's financial plan as well. So if it needs to be reviewed more frequently than 7 years, that will be a recommendation that we look at and consider as we budget going forward.
And Director, I'd just like to say, we haven't made 7 years out of any deck, almost counts. So it is no excuse for RubCorp's performance on, we are just trying to do our best because we do not have an alternate, better flooring to choose from at this time.
Okay.
We have high hopes in this product. The rubber capacity for falls and the best coefficient for slips, but I am not defending RubCorp in the sense that we do have a couple failures over the last 3 years that need to get resolved, and I just want you to know that we're on it.
Thank you. And again, the board is working together, and we're on it too. We hear the residents, and again, we're residents ourselves. So, whom else? We'll start with Alan and then go to Ann. I'm sorry, Director Schlemmer, and then to I have to be more formal.
Alan
Director
is
Schlemmer
fine,
first.
President Novella. You're quite okay. Carl, thank you for the update, first of all, and thank you for the hard work that you've been doing, and I know you've been doing over the last few years as this problem has been sort of percolating. At the general manager's update, one of the things we talked about is the fact that at the Johnson pool, one of the key areas of concern is the perimeter wall around the lap pool. And we talked about the fact that also gets some heavy wear and tear, even a little bit of maybe abuse, because swimmers tend to grab the wall, hang on the wall, especially because of the deep edges of that pool and so forth. And you mentioned some of the things that RubCorp was going to do to help try to make that more adhering stronger and so forth. I just wanted you to have a chance to share that with the rest of the board of the community.
Absolutely. Anytime that the coping has been the most difficult, I believe RebCorp came in here when Russ and I were interviewing them for selection. At that time, there was 2 companies in the industry. Today, there is only one, and the second company is a product of the first. So we have one company that is an opportunity to deal with. Everybody else that does this in the country has been trained basically through that company, or their product is not the same. As salesmen sell, they wanted our presence here in Arizona. We are a huge footprint for their product. And they told us right from the beginning that coping for our style of build-a-pools is very difficult, but they would do it. So I think we've experienced the results of some of that without any failures being discussed here. The coping is the most difficult. So in this application, they're going over some of the areas that are not loose and basically getting me a second coat with, like I said, a new style of resin. And we'll see where it goes from there. But it is the hardest thing to adhere to. It was designed primarily for flat surfaces. New modern pools are generally designed with a barrier between the edge of the pool and where the deck starts, so they have a nice finished edge. We asked them to come down and around, and it's been difficult. So another future strategic idea might be we have to think about applying a different edge if we're going to continue this route.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Director Becknell, you're next.
Well, Alan stole most of my thunder right there. But I did want to say thank you for giving us that little bit of history background. It really does help quite a bit. And I have to tell you that I fully agree, given the fact that this is under maintenance, so it's at no cost to us aside from the downtime at the pool to get it done, which is always sort of an irritation, but it's the right answer today. And that I hope that the group will continue to look forward at additional options that might be available. So if it starts to fall apart again, that we are prepared with a second option and maybe even identifying what kind of a repair or replace cost that may be, because it may not be at all in our reserve fund to cover what needs to be done to make it right. So thank you very much, Carl. We know how hard you work at doing this.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Are there any questions from residents here in the room? Could you come to the, and please, as you sign in, there's a sign in there, please introduce yourself by name and rec card number, please.
Good morning, Board. Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Bruce Lees, 135422. As you well know, I'm a proponent for the community, and maybe the only one speaking out loud about the concern of the pool deck and such. But my question, if I may, is the work expected to take place at night or during the day on the refurb?
Combination of both. Their closure period starts at, I believe, 10 or 11 o'clock on Sunday night, and they have almost an average of 16-hour workday, which is typical. They take breaks in between, and I got to say they do work efficiently. And then they come from Texas, so they go to a VRBO or something and sleep their 8 hours, and then they come back and do another evening and morning application.
Thank you. Also, I was one of the ones that observed the adhesive or resin containers on a repair work being performed at Kuntz prior to the initial application here at R.H. Johnson. I also am the one that read the label that said, do not apply above 95 degrees. When the initial installation was done, we were experiencing extreme heat wave where even the nighttime temperatures failed to come down under 95 degrees, let alone the surface temperature. So this is one of the areas that I feel we may have lost the cohesiveness of the product because of possible misapplication that cause it to off-gas, cure too quickly, and lose adhesive properties. I'm hoping that in your endeavors that you've explored that and that you indicated that the company now may use a newer product or a different resin application, and I'm hoping that we're successful this time because it's extremely frustrating to have continuous failure on a 12-month rotation. And so I'm confident that we'll be successful this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lees. Anything that you wanted to add there, Carl? No.
No, I have no comment.
Thank you. We had another, I think we had another, you're all set? Are there any other questions from residents in the room? And there's nothing online. Thank you, Director Chatton. So thank you, Carl. I neglected to mention when I was doing sort of housekeeping at the start that there's a bit of a delay, about 30 seconds or so delay between what folks are hearing on YouTube and what we're hearing here in the room. So if comments come in on this or any topic after the fact, we'll read them out and respond to them as necessary at the end of the meeting during during community comments. So we'll move on. 5.03, this is just a matter of, again, of our regular course of action. Every year, the governing board ensures that the bylaws are still up to date, they're accurate, they're still serving our association as they need to be. So we always do that, and that's a task that has traditionally fallen to the governing board president. So as I did that, I reached out to the rest of the board when we were organizing on July 1st and asked for some other directors to also assist me with that. And so both Director Forsey and Director Turner volunteered at that time to work together with me. What I'm looking at, the Elections Special Committee last spring recommended some bylaw review on anything pertaining to our elections, because the elections, as described in our bylaws, do mention some procedures that are no longer in effect. So we'll be looking at their recommendations as well as anything else we feel requires that review. I'll be looking at that starting this month, again, together with the directors mentioned. And any results or recommendations that we come out of that will, of course, come to the governing board for review. Will be reviewed by our legal counsel to ensure that they are compliant with Arizona state statutes, et cetera. So you'll be hearing more about that in open session. Any questions from the? Great. Anything from our community? And nothing online. Great. Moving on to 5.04. Most of our policy reviews, similarly to bylaws, our policy reviews, all of our policies that are on file are reviewed annually. Most of our policies are reviewed because they accrue to specific committees. Like we have facilities policies, those are reviewed by our properties committee. Golf policies, those are reviewed by golf, et cetera. But we do have 3 groups of policies that do not fall under a specific committee. We have our committee policies themselves, we have general policies, and we have membership policies. Again, historically, those have fallen to the governing board president for review. I asked for Director Grom, Vice President Grom, to take a look at those and to help. So Director Grom, you want to, and similarly to what I mentioned on bylaws, this is as those 3 areas of policy are looked at, if there are any changes, it will come to the rest of the board. Is that right, Director Grom?
Okay, thank you, President Novello. Yeah, I was tasked back at the July 1st planning meeting, and as President Novello said, we take a look at all of our policies annually. And in this case, we have 4 committee policies, 14 general policies, and 3 membership policies. Now, what you have to understand is we live in a planned community, so we have an actual hierarchy of documents. Federal, state, and county laws, statute, and codes have precedence over our governing documents. And then if you go to our bylaws, section 1.05, you'll see our community documents listed. It begins with our covenants, which is normally called the declaration, the articles of incorporation, because we're an incorporated organization, and then our association bylaws, which are where a lot of the rules come from that govern the board, elections, and things like that. Then we have our facilities agreements. Number 5, policy statements, which is what I looked at. And number 6 is the rules and regulations of our clubs. Now, what's important here is that a policy is kind of a deliberate set of principles or procedures established to run the organization. So all of these policies are drafted and approved by the board. The big caveat is that they all must be in compliance with those superseding rules. So in order to do a complete review, let's say I'm reviewing a policy on a membership or something, I have to look at not only our governing documents, but if there's anything in the state codes. So when we do these reviews, it's a pretty encompassing process. And what I've done is I went through all, what do we have here? 21 of these policies. I looked at the ones that seemed to have potential gray areas, or possibly there had been some state law changes, and I gave a list to President Novello. We have not had an opportunity yet to talk, but once we review my preliminary review, I'm sure then we'll go through a process and assign what policies we actually need to look at. I mean, the good part of this is, people don't realize not that many folks look at the declaration or the bylaws. What to look at is policies. Like, I want to have a guest. So what's the policy on guests? Or we're having an election. What's the policy on election? How do I get to vote? So those are the things that are most important to the community, and that's why it's critical that these policies be sound policies, that they be reviewed by our legal counsel, because they are binding and they are enforceable. And I think we'll do a pretty good job this year in reviewing everything.
Yeah, we always do. We're just trying to be a little bit more visible, or at least we endeavor to do that, right? But we're trying to be a little more visible with you and with each other. So as Director Grom has just mentioned, all this stuff will come up in an upcoming workshop. This stuff being anything that we believe needs to be reviewed, and anything that's missing also, any new policies that we feel may be missing from that list. So board members can expect to see more of that. We'll check first, as we do, our committees do the exact same thing. Any policies that are up for any kind of review will also be reviewed by legal counsel to ensure compliance. So we'll do all of that. More to come. Thank you for helping us with that, Director Grom. Any questions? And we're seeing none from online either. So we'll move straight on to 5.05, which is a capital improvement request. This is part of the budgeting process from our great friends at the ARC at the Automobile Restoration. There's just as we've had in a few cases, we don't go through all of the documents, but they're here for you to review. So the ARC Club is proceeding on as you just mentioned. We received a very nice repayment toward previous loans, and there's one last phase that was originally articulated and has been worked on over many years. So that last phase is now up for review by all of us on the governing board, and the process is that ARC will be making a presentation. Now, there are 3 committees that will be assisting with the advisory here. Whenever there's a renovation to a club space, we see involvement from and need contributions from our charter clubs committee, from our properties committee, as well as budget and finance, right? So rather than do those presentations one after another and falling out of sequence, last year, we decided to start a process where we would review all of those together. So just in transparency with the community, the ARC Club will come in and make its initial presentation to the chair people and a single representative of each of those 3 committees I mentioned. That presentation occurs on Monday, the 15th. Just for informational and so forth. So there's a little bit of information that you can all see. The detailed presentation comes to those representatives on Monday. After that, it goes through our usual process, meaning the committees themselves will be transparently discussing and reviewing that presentation and that request. And each of those committees will make a recommendation to us, to the governing board, for how to proceed forward. By our budget timelines, this will all occur in a pretty rapid fire fashion. So for more information, stay tuned not only with us, but with those three committees. Again, it's the Properties Committee, the Charter Clubs Committee, and of course, Budget and Finance. So that's where we stand on the SIP request. Any questions from the board? Comments? Questions from our residents? And still nothing online, I don't believe. Oh, I'm sorry. Please, Director Pyskowski.
That September 15th meeting, is that an open meeting?
It is no, it's not one that is open technically, because it's just an update for those committees.
Just wanted to let the community know that.
That's exact. Thank you for asking. And it's not, again, this is not for any desire for lack of transparency. It's just really to get the details out first, and then all subsequent discussions, any recommendations and decisions will all be made in open meetings. So thank you for asking. Any other questions? All right, then we'll move on to 5.06. Back on July 1st, the governing board, as we met and we planned together, we were talking about the organizing several things for the year, including our training session that I mentioned occurred a week ago. One of the potential topics we considered was getting an understanding, a deeper understanding of this topic, the evolution of age-restricted communities. A little bit of governing board history is, as Director Schlemmer just alluded, he was slated to actually give a presentation first to the training session and then subsequently to the community in September of 2024, before he, as he affectionately says, played in traffic. Director Schlemmer suffered a very, very horrific accident a year ago that required him to step away from the board and resign. And we did not ever receive that presentation. So again, on July 1st, when we met, the board decided, determined, do we want to schedule that as a part of our training? So after a little bit of discussion, we decided that rather than having it only at training, that we would have Alan come and make a presentation at our first workshop. So that's what brought us here. So again, it was a long time waiting for the presentation itself, but Alan will walk us through a presentation that's been more than a year in development.
The moral of this story is don't play in traffic.
Right. Especially Alan Schlemmer. So Director Schlemmer?
Good morning, everybody. How are you? So it looks like I have until lunch. I'm just kidding. But the genesis of this really comes from, as I think about my role on the board, I think one of the things that is crucial to my role is to make sure that we're doing everything we can to preserve, protect, and enhance this community to continue its great status as being one of the gold standard communities in the nation. And I think in order to do that, we really do need to spend some time understanding how we got here and understanding what makes us unique in a very competitive marketplace. And the third genesis of it is we constantly hear in surveys and in other results, the villages, the villages, the villages. And so I wanted to spend some time really talking about the villages as well, because they are the largest retirement community in the entire world, and they continue to grow and so forth. So that's the genesis of this, and this is kind of what we're going to do. We'll talk a little bit about the beginning. I want to talk about how we got here through Youngtown and Del Webb. We'll spend some time on the villages. And then we'll talk about who are in the top 10 today, and then a little bit about what's ahead for Sun City West. Why is that not moving forward? There? Ah, well, look at that. So, how did we get here? How did all of this begin? You know, in my work at the museum, one of the common questions I get from visitors coming into the museum is, why did they even start this back in 1950s, 1960? And it really is to get to the bottom of that story, you really have to go all the way back to the end of the Depression. Because after the Depression ended and The economy was starting to come back, industrial investment was rising, and the workforce was changing. Social Security was created. Pension plans became part of packages both within unions and within corporate America. And so those workers that began their careers in the late 30s, 1940s, they were beginning down a path that by the 1960s would lead them to retire as one of the wealthiest groups of retirees in the history of the nation. They would have fully vested pensions, they would have full Social Security benefits, and many of them also did the American dream of home ownership, so they had home equity. Well, developers saw this. A second thing was happening, which is we were living longer. The average age by 1960 was starting to approach 70 years of age. It's a lot longer now, but that was a pretty significant achievement. And consider that back then, retirees generally started retiring at about age 50. The other thing that was happening is the jet age was bringing the country together. No longer was it a big effort to go across the country. So the concept that grandparents don't leave grandchildren was starting to change. And then the fifth element in this is retirees also were starting to forge a different path. They saw retirement in a different light. It wasn't about sitting on the front porch with a rocking chair. It became a chance to get out and explore things and live your best life or your fullest life. So along comes Youngtown. One of the other surprises that I see when I bring people through the museum is they're surprised to learn that Del Webb didn't actually create this idea. It was actually the developers of Youngtown, Arizona, who created the very first age-restricted community in the country. It's had a phenomenal success. It was a developer out of California. 1957, the Today Show featured Youngtown. That generated 50,000 inquiries, and boom. The other big investors, the big developers started to take notice. And one of the things they noticed was that Youngtown, as much as it was a great retirement community, it lacked the amenities that most retirees were seeking. So along come the big developers, the big guns. Certainly Del Webb and Sun City. And interestingly enough, Del Webb took a lot of convincing to get into this. It was two of his executives who actually proposed the idea. But nonetheless, he did come in with it. And at the same time that Del Webb was starting in 1958, 1959, a few years later in 1960, a guy by the name of Ross Cotees began building what is Leisure World. There are still some Leisure World communities, including one over in Mesa. The focus, though, was a little different between the two. Webb, typical Webb style, very big, grand communities. He wanted lots of acreage, lots of houses. So his whole concept was to buy 10,000 acres to create Sun City. Leisure World would be smaller, 2,500 to 3,500 homes, but both of them would feature amenities and active lifestyle and things like that. Del Webb's concept was amenities first, build them before the first model home, and if you come to the museum, we'll show you that the golf course was the very first thing that was put in over there. And he wanted them affordable. He wanted to be able to have people who were living on those pensions and Social Security, even though they were wealthier than retirees in the past, they still had budgets and so forth. And his whole marketing was a new way of life. He also launched a national marketing effort, different than what Youngtown did, broadcasting in front of movies, at theaters. There's no real national television at that point, but broadcasting in front of movies, at theaters, advertising in all of the major magazines and things of that nature. So Sun City took off. It started out the first year, it sold almost 1,500 homes. It was a phenomenal success, but they hadn't quite yet figured it out. And I'm flying through. I'm going to pass over a whole bunch of history to get you here because I don't want to keep you till lunch. But by 1965, sales of Sun City had dropped significantly, and it almost came to an end. And the whole issue was that they didn't really have the formula right. So Webb announced that they would not go north of Grand Avenue. He developed a plan, which is the picture you see here, which was going to convert a lot of that area. That was the 10,000 acre investment, running all the way up to Beardsley Avenue, which he was going to convert everything north of Grand over to multi-generational housing, light industrial parks, and things of that nature. He sold off his interest in Sun City in California and Sun City in Florida shortly thereafter. And along came I mean, we all know very well, John Meeker, who really is the guy who creates the Sun City concept that is Sun City West today. And that model that Meeker created is the one that is used now by every major developer building large-scale active retirement communities. So, Meeker's concept, create chartered clubs for everyone. He saw chartered clubs as the absolute way to get engagement in the community, to give people the active lifestyle they were really looking for. Prior to that, Webb's concept was basically swimming pools and golf courses. So he really enhanced that active lifestyle. He wanted to create concert venues that could bring in entertainment, the Sun Bowl, the Sun Dome, not here anymore, but the Sun Dome. He wanted to have large, well-appointed rec centers. That's why when you go over to Sun City, you'll notice south of Grand, they're not big, they're small. North of Grand, you see the rec centers getting bigger and bigger. And then when you come over here, they're really big. And also golf and sports venues. He had 4 prongs to his commitment. The builder should stay invested in the community. In other words, while the builder is here, they should continuously strive to make the community stronger and better. The original approach was build the rec center, build the houses, once they're done, leave. But Meeker saw that they should remain engaged. And when they do finally leave, endow the Master Association with the ability to survive on its own and to continue to prosper and grow with the community, deliver a consistent, high-quality product, and have all the supporting services within the community that the community needs to meet its needs. So that's why in Sun City West, we have a Sun City West Foundation that was built on land funded by DevCo. That's why we have a hospital that was built on land donated by DevCo, the Del Webb Development Company. And you see that all around the community. And so that model begins the generation of the multifaceted, large-scale retirement community. So, another tidbit of history. A lot of people think Del Webb built Sun City West. Mr. Webb passed away in 1974. Our community was really the vision of John Meeker. And as you'll see, if you do something great for the Webb Company, you get a road named after you. If you do something really great, you get a rec center named after you. So Robert Johnson was the president and CEO of the Master Company and so forth. When Meeker built Sun City West, his vision was to create a grand gold standard community. He wanted to build the retirement community standard that would set the stage for everything to come thereafter. He wanted to take everything that he had learned from building Sun City and incorporate it into this really grand community. About the same time that Sun City West was starting, the folks who were building what would become the villages decided to make a trip out to see this community in Arizona called Sun City and see what they had done, because the villages began in the 1960s as a mobile home community. It was owned by Harold Schwartz, his son Gary Morse. I don't know why they have different last names, but at any rate, operated the company, but they could see that what was happening in Arizona was really the right direction. So they modeled the evolution of the villages after Sun City, and later influenced by Sun City West, but because we started at the same time, that was to come down the road. They initially had 26,000 acres. Now, to put that in perspective, 26,000 acres is about the size of Sun City West, and Sun City Grand combined. So they had a lot of land, and they were out in the middle of Florida. But like Webb, they focused on amenities. They went to stick-built homes. They scrapped the mobile home park community. And by 2005, they had reached 26,000 homes, about the size of Sun City. And they were starting to be billed as the Sun City on steroids. So their evolution was later. Their rise was pretty quick. Their whole approach is about bigger and better, and that continues to remain their plans. And as I said, Webb's Sun City was the roadmap. More land meant more amenities. They were very focused on golf. They had a very strong draw from the big cities of the Northeast, which gave them a competitive advantage because they were able to pull from those big markets, New York, Boston, and so forth. So the Villages today is approximately 60 square miles. It's 150,000 residents, 70,000 homes. They build 3,000 new homes every year. They are continuing to be built. They have 3,000 clubs. They don't quite follow the chartered club concept we have. They do have chartered clubs, but they have a lot of duplication simply because of their size. 41 executive courses, 13 championship courses, 11 putting and practice facilities, 13. So their structure too, when you get to the rec centers, they have regional rec centers, village rec centers, and neighborhood rec centers, because the way they're built, and today they're on almost 100,000 acres of land, the way they're built, you have a cluster of villages. And these villages may not be adjoined. In some cases, they're several miles apart. So if you think of Sun City West, Sun City Grand, Sun City Festival, if you were to brand that under one name and call it the Villages, you would essentially duplicate what they have in Florida. Their rec centers, if you live in the Villages, you can go to any of the regional rec centers. A regional rec center there is like an R.H. Johnson or a Kuntz or one of our rec centers here. They're big, they're large, they have a lot of facilities. Then they have these village rec centers, which is within your village. You might also have a smaller supporting rec center open only to people who live within that village. And then within the villages, you have a neighborhood, and you might have a neighborhood rec center, which is basically a swimming pool, maybe some small recreational stuff within your individual village. So as a village resident, you have access to all the rec centers, you have access to your village center and to your neighborhood center. Then you do have access to the other centers for major community events, but you can't just go to the village center if you're not in that village. They also have 4 town centers, quite a selection of shopping centers, and they also, similar to us, have an on-site hospital. The other aspect that makes the Villages different from us is the Villages, Inc. is the owner of the Villages. So you own your property just like we do. You have deeded property and all that, but all of the common amenities are operated by the Villages, Inc. That includes those town centers and everything. So they basically own the land within the community. As opposed to like us, our commercial core, those individual businesses own and operate within those areas. So how do we actually compare? So with everything I've said, and I painted this grandiose picture of the Villages, I actually think we stack up really well. So one of the big advantages that Sun City West has, in my opinion, over the Villages is that we are a single self-contained community. We are all connected, and we are bound by a common border wall. My wife and I toured the Villages when we were looking to retire, and one of the things that struck us was how far apart everything was. Here, when you come here, you feel a sense of community. Sure, we have the historic district where I live, and we have the newer homes all the way over on the other end, and all of that, but we're still bound by one common joining community. That doesn't exist there. The second area is, if you look at the golf courses, we have one golf course for every 1,889 homes, if you include all courses that are available to us, so that adds in Briarwood and Hillcrest into that number. I didn't put in Portobello because of the gated aspect. In the Villages, if you take all of their golf courses that are available to their community, including their private courses as well as their public courses, they're one course for every 1,296. So arguably, we're within the ballpark. We have one large rec center for every 4,250 residents, or homes rather. They have one large rec center for every 5,385. The large rec centers are where things happen there, just like they are for us here. Now, it drops quite a bit if you include those village and neighborhood rec centers. Location-wise, we're basically in a metro area, 45 minutes to the airport. They're 90 miles to an airport. And the other big difference, and I think this is the big one, as I said, they're owned by the Villages, Inc. They are a for-profit, privately held company, holding company. We are governed by a nonprofit community government association. We have a governing board that is elected by you. They have a board of directors. They do have a resident advisory board, but the decisions for the Villages Inc. are done by their board of directors, who answers to the investors. The decisions here are done by a governing board that answers to the residents. Villages is expensive, so it's hard to figure out their fees. And I believe this to be accurate. I did a lot of research on this, talked to some realtors. Their basic amenity fee is $195 per month. That's for the rooftop. But when you buy there, they're developed through what is called community district development grants. Each home has a bond applied to it, and that bond cost per month can be anywhere between $130 and $230 a month, depending on what size home, how much land you have, and so forth. The average is $191 a month. You could, as an owner, pay that entire bond off in a lump sum. Most people don't, because the bond will outlive them, so why pay a bond off into the future when you won't be around? So if you put the CDD cost and the amenity cost together, you get to $386 per month that you pay to live in the community over and above your normal housing expenses. That does give you access to all of the village and regional rec centers as I described. It does give you access to all those town squares. It does give you access to buy tickets for the concerts just like we do, and access to all of their clubs and rec centers. So there are amenity structures very similar to us. If you live there, you can belong, you can participate, as long as you pay that monthly fee. Oops, did I go too far? I did, I gotta go back one. So, that being said, the next area I looked at is how do we stack up against the top 10? So the top 10 communities in the country, Retire Better Now does an annual survey. I use that one because they're the most consistent in doing the survey about the same time every month, using the same criteria. There are others out there, 55places.com does a survey, but theirs is driven by website hits. So this is the one I like. And we have pretty consistently ranked in this. At one point, we did get all the way up to number 2. For the last couple of years, 23, 24, and 25, we have sat at number 6. With everything I've said about the villages, I'm pleased to say they fall in at number 7. But when you think about Sun City West, and as a board, when we think about how we govern and make decisions, there are destination communities, and then there are non-destination communities. That's my term. Destination communities are the communities that draw retirees in to look and live there. Sun City West is why my wife and I picked looking at Phoenix as a place to retire. We then might look at all the other communities around, but those are the destination communities. These are the communities that are drawing people to those locations. And so as we think about that, when I think about who are our competitors, well, certainly Grand and Festival to some degree, but at the same time, when you think about all of us came from all over the country, all over the world in some cases, we came here because something drew us here. And these are the communities that we compete with to draw us into a location. So we consistently can remain ranked, the villages as well. On Top of the World is always in the top 3. They are a community that's near the villages in Florida. But these are the communities we need to be looking at as we look around the nation. So, what makes us unique? One, I think, is our unincorporated status. If you go back to that top 10 list, most of those communities sit within a governed city, town, or area. Consider the difference between us and Festival. So they sit in the city of Surprise. We sit in Sun City West. Most of our homes lack school taxes. What makes us really unique is the degree to which we have a dependence on volunteers. So Pride's the posse, the volunteers who run this organization, the foundation, the museum, you go around all of our clubs and so forth. We have a very heavy dependence on volunteers to keep our community going forward. We are very unique in that. That's unique to the original Sun Cities, really. We own all of our facilities, and I think what really makes us unique is affordability. So we are the third largest retirement community in the country. And we are, depending on how you look at costs, we are certainly a little more expensive than Sun City. We're on par with Green Valley down in the southern part of Arizona. We're certainly much less expensive than Grand and so forth. But when I look around the country, and as we just looked at the villages, from an affordability standpoint, with the level of amenities you get, we are significantly more affordable than every one of our peer organizations in whatever list you come up with. So, how does that affect us? Looking forward, we talked about how retirement communities started. What's very interesting is just as the 1950s brought wealthy retirees, the 2030s are likely going to start to move that equation in a different direction. The boomer retiree wave will retire within the next 10 years, for the most part. The end of the boomer generation is hitting 60 plus right now. The average retirement age is rising. The average retiree is starting to push 70 years old. So people looking to move are tending to be a little older, or they're coming here while they are still working. So the number of people who are living in our communities who are working is continuously starting to rise. The pension-rich retiree, and I say that in quotes because none of us are really rich, is rapidly becoming a thing of the past because the generation coming out behind us, for the most part, they don't have those pensions. I look at my own daughter, and they don't have a pension. I worry about how they will retire. I think they're eyeballing our house. Working retirement, as I talked about. And then the other component is, as the boomer generation starts to fade out of the retirement market, will the level of retirees be enough to sustain the number of communities that are out there? And that's where being competitively strong is going to be an advantage. Maintaining yourself at the top of the selected list in order to be able to survive. And so the challenge to us is, how does an older community like Sun City West stay relevant in an evolving marketplace? Now, we continue to be on that top 10 list. Us and Laguna Woods in California are the only two older communities on that list, and we've held our ground pretty well, so we're doing a pretty good job of that. And then the last component, as we think about it, is more and more of our residents are living year-round. So that is my presentation. These are the sources I used in order to put this together. There's a really great book, I'll point it out. It's by Judith Trolander. It's called From Sun Cities to the Villages, published in 2011. And it gives a fascinating historical perspective, as well as my work at the Del Webb Museum. And with that, I'll open up to any questions.
Thank you, Director Schlemmer. It's so fascinating. We're all very invested in our current environment, right? But as I alluded, with our key goals and so forth, strategic planning and now master planning is about to kick off. These are very important considerations for the board. And the reason why Director Schlemmer is here is that it's not just for the board, but we felt that it would also be of interest to the entire community since we're about to be engaged in a master planning process. So with that, directors, any questions for Alan, for Director Schlemmer? Great. Any questions from our residents? And nothing online. So again, Alan, thank you very much. Very compelling overview of the history, as well as some considerations that we can hold as we move forward. The presentation is attached here for anybody who would be interested in looking at it for yourselves or downloading it and holding it. So again, thanks for taking the time to do that. So with that, it brings us to the comments part of our agenda. And we'll start, since Alan probably still needs to catch a breath, Why don't we start with you, Director Becknell, and we'll go around. Any comments?
No
In general.
comments, thank you.
Director Grom?
If you recall, one of the goals for this year was, more board involvement in the community or something. I'm just glad to say this past Wednesday, I represented the community at the Alliance for Business and Community meeting on Wednesday morning. As you know, we don't have a Chamber of Commerce here, but we have this group called Alliance of Businesses and Community, which is, somewhat like a Chamber of Commerce, more of a networking group. So Sun City West has been a member for years, as are groups like Prides and Pora and Posse and things like that. But it's a great way just to meet some of the business folks, like the bankers, the realtors and things. So I'm sure we'll be having a director or myself attend these meetings in the future. But it's well worth your while, and they are open to guests, and individual members can also join as friends of the ABC. And it's a pretty worthwhile group. Thank you.
Thanks, Director Grom. Director Chatton?
Nothing to add. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Piaskowski?
Yeah, Alan, very interesting. It was a good presentation. I really appreciated it. Yes, I do. I am Sports Path, so guess what, guys? The Pavilion Grill is in my Sports Path building. I had lunch there yesterday. I had a wonderful Reuben. I got a salad, but my husband got French fries. So I can actually say that if someone went there for lunch or dinner, you could split it, because the sandwich, I took half the sandwich home. So just plugging them. It was a good price. Went home full, never had dinner, so that was everything. And so I'm just encouraging all the residents to try it out. Breakfast, I guess, is awesome too. Have you guys eaten there? Carl and Ross are shaking their heads, so they have eaten there. So yeah, give it a try and see what they say. And we're looking forward to the Lizard Acres opening up, and that should be really fun. And that's it. But thank you.
Thanks. And I have to say, last Friday, we got some breakfast goodies as well as a director for our training, and ooh, it's worth the stop. So anyway, thank you. Director Williams?
No additional comments, thank you.
Thank you. Director Turner?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank Director Schlemmer for the presentation. It's interesting and it's fascinating, and it also puts a little bit of context, I think, in for our work as a governing board when we think about the longer term future of the community. I mean, it's not just about what we do next year. It's about the long-term survivability of the community, and that we need to bear that in mind as we make our decisions.
I turned it off rather than on. Thank you. So, although he's, oh, I'm so sorry, did not come back to you. Thank you, Director Schlemmer, you're next.
Thank you, President Novello. Thank you for those of you who thanked me for the presentation. I do want to, I thought a lot about what I would like to use closing comments for as I do this year on the board as an appointed member. And I want to take time when I can to highlight some of the great things that happen within our community that are really, they're not only heartwarming, but they reflect who we are as a community. And so I'm going to call out, and I know that Rip and So does a lot of this as well. So no slight to any other club who I know does the same thing. I want to call out the Macro Knit Club. And I want to call out the Macro Knit Club, and in full disclosure, my wife is a member. But they make these newborn hats for the hospital. And they make hundreds of them. And they're used over here at Banner Del Webb Hospital, which it amazingly has a maternity unit. And I say that because we're in an over 55 community. But they donate hundreds of them. And in fact, the folks at Banner said that you guys donate so many that we are able to also pass some on to some of our other Banner maternity units as well. These folks in this club make these things, and they make things for the homeless as well. And it's just a nice gesture and a nice way to represent Sun City West across the broader Phoenix metropolitan area. And I'll ask any club president or member, if there's something you're doing that you would love me to highlight at the end of a meeting, because I can't come up with this on my own, alan.schlemmer@suncitywest.com. I would love to hear about it. And depending on what response I get, I would certainly love to share those with the community. Thank you.
That's wonderful and a great idea. Look forward to hearing more about those. Almost forgot you. Sorry about that, Director Schlemmer. But with that, Director comments, we'll turn this over. He's been very quiet, uncharacteristically so, but our General Manager, Stephen Erno, is here for us, as he always is at these meetings, to answer questions or, in this case, to add some commentary. So, Stephen?
Great. Thank you, President Novello, and just been patiently enjoying all of the commentary, and thank you, Director Schlemmer. That was a great presentation, good information there. As I've done in the past, I just wanted to share briefly some really positive comments that we've received. You know, we instituted a mechanism for, actually it started with, we oftentimes get positive comments on our member comment forms, and then I was looking for ways we could do that even further. And so we started having the kudos cards that are out there and the QR codes and such. So as I've done in the past, I do like to share those periodically because we get such great feedback on our team and what a great job they do and how committed they are to our members. And these are just a small sample of some of the great comments. You know, Tim Peterson, we all know him. He really does do a wonderful job as a tour guide. If you've not taken one of his tours, I highly recommend it. Even when I first started a year ago, I went along with that, and I was thoroughly impressed on how he did his knowledge and how he shares information. But even just looking through these, I mean, just, you know, the Lucy over at the Sports Pavilion, being super polite and working well with people. And I love the one at the bottom, the library, talking about how amazing Shannon is, and the fact that this person, you know, they felt like they had to get a phone because of the way the world is, and struggles with that, but comes in the library and gets help often from Shannon, and just the amount of effort that person Shannon puts in to help our members goes a long way. So I just wanted to share some of these as I've done in the past, and this coincides very nicely. We actually just Wednesday of this week had our employee recognition here, our annual employee recognition. What's not on here is to mention that Tammy Betton, who's over at the bowling center, she was our employee of the year this year, and she does a great job. We talked about the fact that the amount of leagues that she manages now has, because of the efforts by staff over there, have increased dramatically, and she handles them phenomenally, and just is a joy to have around there. So kudos to her, and congratulations as Employee of the Year, and kudos to all of these folks that you see up here, as well as all of our team. They really do work hard to make the member experience what it is, which is really fantastic. So just want to share that with you all, and thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Stephen. You mentioned our bowling center. You know, tomorrow night, Saturday night, if they're starting a new league, I believe, and I learned this at our Sports Pavilion Committee meeting. But there's a new league for residents only. So if you want to come check it out, and we have, if not one of, probably the finest bowling center sports pavilion in the state. So go check it out. So Saturday evenings, what was that called again, Director Piaskowski? The Golden Rollers? Well, go check it out if you have nothing going on Saturday evening. So thank you again. Stephen, any questions now, turning it over to the residents? Any meeting attendee comments? So we have a few, and there's actually someone who's been patiently waiting as well. Please feel free. Mr. Lees, you already had the opportunity to comment. I'm going to ask you to cede your role just for a moment, if you wouldn't mind, and then we'll get to you. Your name, introduce yourself with a name and rec card number, please. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lori Mayo, and we need your help. We've had an issue at R.H. Johnson. Our music's been taken away from us, and we were told by the monitors that somebody came in and complained they didn't want the 60s music at all. They went off on the monitors, and all of a sudden it's gone. And to me, they didn't deal with that person who went off on the monitor. They just rewarded that person and took our music away. We've all filled out comment cards. I've asked twice about the person. Was it a guest? Was it a member? What pool? What time? Both times, no answer other than I don't have any of the details. So when we're over, I'm having a feeling that it's the people, the younger people that work here that don't like our music, because you go to Kuntz and they had started playing rap music with questionable lyrics. I was there one time in the early evening, and people were livid because the employee was gone, the office was locked, and they got stuck for the entire weekend listening to that person's music. We don't ask for much. We're there from 6 to 9 in the morning. We want fast-paced 60s music. We don't want the bridge. It's elevator music. We're not hurting anybody. And they keep saying, well, we're trying to make everybody happy. Well, they're not. So we'd appreciate it if you could please help us, because they're not listening to us. They've made their decision. They made their decision before we even had a chance to fill out comment cards. They're not here to run our lives. They're here to run things, but not to run our lives. So if you could check with them, please, because we're not hurting anybody wanting that music in the morning. Thank you.
So a few things, if I
And-
may. Thank you for your comments.
And also, can I just say can we add this to the minutes, please? My comment?
Two separate things. You're always in the minutes because you're here speaking, right? In that regard. But hold on just a moment. Let's first address your question, if we may, and then we'll get to your second question. So the first thing is pertaining to the music. As you noted, there's no way that any of us can please anyone. But I'd like to ask our general manager, because there is an initiative underway right now regarding the minutes, the music that is. Could you address that for us?
Sure. Thank you, President Novello. So, to your point, it is impossible to please everybody, of course. And really what's happened is we receive just as many and I look at all of them, just as many member comment forms that are asking for one genre. There's just as many asking for other genres. And so we receive comment forms all the time, and it has kind of recently bubbled up, and we even received one recently that talked about how much they appreciated the new music mix and thought it was fantastic. So depending on who you're talking to, there's certainly a difference of opinion on that. So in order to address that, we have a couple of things. First of all, we were looking for feedback from the community. We've done recently a survey that is out. I believe it's still out, is it not? Yes. So it's still out. Trying to gather some information about what people would like. But we're also looking into the music platform itself. We've been using Sirius XM, and there are times when we put it in certain mix that, yes, it does play things that we would prefer that it not play, and we certainly are looking at that, which is why we're looking for a whole new platform, frankly. The Sirius XM is, frankly, a little dated. It uses an antenna, so there's challenges when it comes to weather sometimes that will interrupt or if it gets moved or bumped during some activities on the roof and maybe staff are up there. So we're looking for different platforms on how to even deliver that music. But in the meantime, we're also then gathering from the community is what folks would like to be listening to. Again, the bottom line is we can't please everybody, but we're doing the best that we can to to provide the variety of mix that people are asking for.
And could you also help us understand, Stephen, you or your staff, if there is music, one of the comments that we just heard is that music is playing and the control of that is locked inside somebody's office, and objectionable music or whatever is being played for days without anybody, including the monitors, able to change the channel or turn it off. Is that true? And if not, how would who controls the music and so forth for us?
Yeah, so I'm going to ask Sabrina to come up and talk about that, because it depends on where we're at, for one thing, as far as which center we're talking about. But she can talk a little bit more about the details of how that's actually controlled.
Thank you.
Hi there. Yeah, so you're correct. At Kuntz, it is locked in the lead's office there, but it is depending on how our system's set up. So every rec center is going to be a little bit different. So Kuntz, it's locked away in the lead's office. That kind of keeps it controlled to that environment, but that was how it was set up, just based off the building. At RH Johnson, it is set up right behind the monitor station. Beardsley monitors could have access to it, as well as Palm Ridge. But we're also trying to take that, I don't want to say control, but we're trying to take that access away from the front lines right there. They get inundated with requests constantly. So they already get, tons of comments. So I'm really trying to limit the amount of complaints or suggestions or opinions that the monitors receive. So just depends on where the music is located at that facility, but you're correct. At Kuntz, it is locked behind the lead office.
And is it accurate that, is it a particular channel that you believe, ma'am, was taken away? Is that
Yes,
the complaint?
The 60s channel. We're all baby boomers. That's what we grew up on.
Okay, there's a list of, I've seen published a list of 5 channels that are now in use. Is that accurate, or
That
is the 6?
That's accurate. However,
I'm
that's-
asking this
Oh,
of
okay, I'm
Sabrina.
sorry.
Thank you, ma'am. That's okay. Is there a list of acceptable channels, and that's what they're limited to?
Yes, so right now I believe we have a total of 7 channels. The 60s is included on that list. We have found that SiriusXM allows a shuffle. So what we have done is programmed all of our units to do a shuffle from these 7 playlists that we have added. So we'll start with, say it's 60s. It will do a song from the 60s, goes to the next playlist. So if you don't like the first song it plays, give it 4 minutes and it's going to jump to a whole new genre or another channel that we have set in place.
So the 1960s channel is still in rotation. Thank you very much. I think we've answered most of your questions. We can't address them all. You're shaking your head. You don't think that we've answered?
No, the 60s channel is not. What the guy told me, he says, well, you have 60s and 70s music on the bridge. That's not the same as the 60s channel. We aren't hurting anybody.
Again, the person in charge of the entire facility's decision says that that's incorrect information.
So I just want to interrupt there. And I think when your member comment form came in initially, that was the case. 60s was included in the bridge and in another area. But now that I've discussed this and we've changed this operations of adding the shuffle playlist, we've added other decades. So we have, I believe, the 50s in there, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. We do have the bridge. We have a country station in there. And there was one other that I can't think of right now. Classic vinyl, that might be included in there still. So we have looked, with SiriusXM, we've communicated with them, and we're trying to come up with a way. Again, Stephen mentioned this is kind of an outdated music platform, so we're doing what we can to keep that variety, but the 60s is added, as of today, it is added on the playlist.
So even though in the past, if somebody came in and said, I would like to listen to such and such channel, and the monitors would say, certainly, somebody just asked for this one, we'll give them an hour and then we'll change it, and that was fine. We never had a problem with that. But all of a sudden, somebody goes off on a monitor and everything changes. Now, because one person has a fit, the rest of us don't get to listen to what we normally
Well, I
listen
think,
to.
again, I greatly appreciate your comments. I think we're trying to answer you, and I know you may not like the answer, but we are answering, I believe. One final point, Sabrina, if you wouldn't mind, is this, what brought this about, as our member is saying, was it precipitated by one person making a complaint?
I am not aware of this incident about a complaint to the monitor station.
Did I not restate you correctly?
No, you're right.
Okay, so let her answer. Thank you.
I'm not aware of a situation. If that was the case, it didn't get brought up to me, but we did get, like Stephen mentioned, a lot of member comment forms from these other groups, other generations, asking for a more variety of music. It has been discussed since I've been here for 3 years. I've heard, hey, we need a little bit more variety in the pools. We've looked at it, but because we have a SiriusXM platform, it's going to be a total change, revamp. So it wasn't necessarily an easy change until we received all these comment forms that kind of bubbled this up. And so that's why we've added and made some slight changes.
Thank you so much. And again, just want to make sure you understand, we hear you, and I believe we've answered your questions today. Everybody has the opportunity to ask the questions and have time. Did you have additional information or questions to follow up on that?
No, there's nothing left to say.
You had asked us to enter comments into the minutes, is that correct?
Yes.
That's something I ask the board to consider. Directors, shall we consider any objections or to that? All right, seeing none, what I'd ask you to do, if you wouldn't mind, please. Oh, I'm sorry, is this an objection on her request? Okay, so I'll just finish and then we'll come back. If something that you'd like to enter into the minutes, please email it to me and we'll pass it on to, right? So just email it to me at christine.novello@suncitywest. That way it's accurate and we don't have any mistypings. If you wouldn't mind emailing it. If you don't have access to email, you can just talk to us afterwards, okay?
Okay.
Now again, Director Pieskowski?
So I just want to make sure we're all clear. You have 7 stations. So every seventh song will be a 60. Every seventh song will be a 70. Is that how that's rotating? Is that correctly?
That's
Is that
correct.
what you're saying?
There's
Okay.
a couple of those stations like the Bridge or Classic Vinyl that include 50s, 60s, 70s. There's some that are combined stations.
Okay. Do we have a sign up at all that we could, so people that are coming into the pool, that they could know what's being played, or that, I mean, I get it, but for me, more information to our residents for a sign, you know, XM radio, these are the following stations that will be played. Every 7th song, we rotate
Or something
these.
like that.
Something like that, so they know that. Because right now, with the residents at the pool, just think that they're hearing not their music.
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely look into that. The monitors are sharing this new shuffle. I mean, we just implemented it this week. It was something we found and discovered. So yeah, we can definitely look at something to put out there to let people know what is being played. But we are going to be upgrading as we investigate other music platforms that Stephen had mentioned.
Thank you. Anything else? I think we've addressed that particular question. Thank you so much. I'm not sure what the rest of the questions are. Maybe stay kind of close by.
My name is Patty Rail, and my number is 114284. It's kind of on the same subject. I am a gym. I go to the gym and I go to the pool. And in the gym, I'm listening to The First Time I Touched Your Face, slow, Endless Love, and I'm trying to work out. I can't get that going. And that was one of my concerns. And I did notice today when I was in the gym that there was 60s playing, but what I found is that you're listening to it and then it chops off at the end. You don't hear the whole song. So I don't know if you're aware of that or not.
No, I'm not aware of that, but I think that's a part of the Sirius XM unit. I don't personally use Sirius XM, so it's been something that was implemented before I got here.
I did notice the music today, though, was a little better than the previous days. So I'm thankful for that.
Thank you.
It's on that shuffle, so there might be some slow songs that get put in there.
Yeah.
We also don't have the ability in every location to put a different playlist in the fitness room versus what's at the pool. So that's also something we're going to look at upgrading.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Alice Custard Bergen, and my number is 117802. And same thing with me, the music. And the monitors were asked by management, what's the most requested music? And they said 1960s. And I don't like that being taken away. I mean, you could take
It has not
away-
been taken
well,
away.
if
I'm
there's
sorry.
If there's 7 genres, why can't you take away the one with the rap? I mean, some of the words are not nice.
Well, ma'am, I'm sorry to interrupt you. We'll go back to, I just wanted to reiterate that in the list that our manager just went through, I didn't hear any station in there. There may have been in the past, right? I'm just saying that there have been some revisions. The staff is trying very hard to hear your concerns and the concerns of residents. And as of recently, that music's back in. So again, please continue. I just wanted you to be aware of the answers that you've received today.
Have a 1960s
They do,
station.
and that's added to the playlist.
Yeah.
I believe it's number 2 right now in the rotation.
Okay, and then also at our age, maybe the other pools too, there's been a lot of alcohol. People coming in drunk, drinking, and I don't even go to the pool in the afternoon because of that.
If you observe those sorts of transgressions, you should make it known
Yeah,
to
well,
the monitor.
Monitors know.
Right.
The
Well,
monitors know. I don't know if they're reporting it or not. I'm sure they are.
if they see that, I'm sure that they are. If they're actually seeing that, we see a lot of comments, and Stephen could probably comment to this. We see a lot of comments from folks who believe that there's alcohol present, but on investigation, it's not. Is that correct?
Yeah, yes, and I would just add, I mean, obviously, that's not allowed, and, you know, but do folks do it? Probably, and, you know, the staff does what they can to control that. So certainly, as President Avella mentioned, if that is seen, observed, we need to be aware of that, so we can address that.
Please continue. Did you have anything else you wanted to add? I'm sorry. Thank you, ma'am. Are there any other questions or comments in the room from residents? Oh, how did I forget? I'm sorry, Mr. Lees, and thank you for letting the folks who went ahead were looking a little frustrated that they had been beaten to the microphone a couple times. And thank you as well, Manager Sabrina Alvaro.
Bruce Lees, 135422. Well, those three ladies basically touched on what I was going to talk about, so I won't beat that horse. We'll offer one suggestion is instead of cycling the genres every few minutes is to pick a genre for an hour, go to another genre for an hour, go to the other genre for an hour. That way, when they transition on the site, the songs don't get cut off or start playing after the song has already started. That may be a platform issue. Thank you.
Thank you for the suggestion. Are there any other questions or comments from residents in the room? Still nothing online. So seeing none, we'll close the comments for today. Our next Governing Board workshop meeting is on October the 10th, 2025, and at 10:51 today, the meeting's adjourned. Thank you.